You're going to have to bear with us. We've got some computer issues tonight. Good old WebEx. I'm using my cell phone service at home. Still out. It's still not working. So just bear with us. This evening, I just wanted to go ahead and get started with the meeting. Some of our are having a hard time getting on, but we do have. And let's go ahead and get started. Do the pledge and all that other stuff, but listen, we're struggling right now, like last week, happening all over. Oh my goodness. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll start with Pat. Pat, why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit what you get across to us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pat Ogle with Northeast Senior Assistance, and I had a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, I can hit the share button. I don't know if it works like Zoom, and I don't know how you can.
You're a presenter, so hit share, and you can share your presentation. You're a presenter, so you can share.
Okay, let's see if I can. Oh, here we are. All right. There we are. Oh, wow. Okay. All right, so we are Northeast Senior Assistants. We've been around for 36 years, serving the Northeast sector of the city. The reason why we're here is because transportation is the #1 need affecting older adults. Older adults, transportation must be either free or charge a small fee. I don't know if y'all know this, but taxis are usually $80 round trip to the medical center and back, and most people can't afford that. The service must be trustworthy and be compassionate, and that is where we step in. We're more than just a ride. We offer conversation and friendship. What we do, we use volunteers, and they use their own private vehicles, and they pick a person up one-on-one and take them to the doctor. So it's kind of like taking your family member to the doctor. You go to their house, pick them up, you go to the doctor, you walk them inside. We never leave the client, so they don't have to worry. And we sit there and wait for them. We can listen to the doctor with them if they want. We can help them fill out forms. And then we can stop at the bank, pharmacy, or wherever they need on the way back and return them home. So again, the driver never leaves the client, and it puts their minds at ease. We are providing rides to go get COVID vaccines right now. We also do grocery shopping or go pick up their supplies at the food pantry. We offer calls to check on them, minor home repairs. We have a Fall Fest event that we bring them to and entertain them. And I also write grants to deliver Christmas gifts at Christmas also. And if we can't help them, we are a referral service. We'll find somebody who can. We were founded in 1984 from the Alamo Heights Ministers Association, and we have expanded 5 times, but we do serve the northeast sector of the city, so they have to live east of San Pedro. And they have to be at least 60 years old or older, can no longer drive safely. To transport them, they must be ambulatory, since we are seniors helping seniors. But we can shop for someone who is in a wheelchair. And they have to live in our northeast quadrant. We do an intake sheet over the phone. We send our nurse out to do an assessment to make sure they fit the program. So it's about a 2-week process to get in the system, but then they can get a ride a week and grocery shopping every week and so forth. We do work solely, we're a call center, so the volunteers aren't actually at our office, but we call them. And currently we have about 350 clients. We just took away about 100 because we found out they moved. And to volunteers, there are hands and feet out there, and they must be 21 years old or older to transport the clients. You can be 18 years old or older to grocery shop and so forth. And of course, have a compassion for the older generation. We do background checks and DPS driving records, and I do have grants out there. We do reimburse your mileage. So that's a plus. There's nothing out of your pocket. And we currently have about 92 volunteers, and some have been with us for over 20 years. We do, during the COVID pandemic, everyone must wear a mask. They must fill out a safety questionnaire. Our drivers take the temperature of the clients before we let them in their cars, and they must sit in the back seat for right now. And of course, everybody should practice social distancing and wash your hands before you leave and when you get home. As you can see, I have a graph right here. It shows our number of rides and number of volunteer hours since we began in '84. And we have progressively increased over the years, except for this past year where the pandemic caused our numbers to drop slightly. You know, a lot of the doctors went to telemed appointments, and we did not provide rides during April, so the numbers went down just a little bit. But to move ahead, we're still expanding. We're still the #1 transportation partner in the city. We need more partners, so we need funding. We need more volunteer drivers just to keep expanding. And the more drivers we have and so forth, the more we can expand our service area. And this is what's special between a NESA volunteer and a client. Both of their lives are improved. Many form friendships. They bring them to their house for holidays and so forth, and take them out for their birthdays. So we're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. We are on the grounds of MacArthur Park Lutheran Church. And visit our website sometime and learn a little more about us. That's www.neseniораssistance.org. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And that's the end of my presentation. Let's see if I can get out of this. Okay.
Well, that's great. Pat, thank you very much. Raul, do we have get some questions for her from anybody?
No questions as of now, sir.
Okay, well, I got a couple of them. Pat, what you said where is the church? I know where it's at, but can you give a little better directions on where y'all?
Well, MacArthur Park Lutheran Church is on Nacogdoches, just 1 mile north of the 410 intersection. And we're in that little red brick house in the front. So they gave us free space there. So that's where we're headquartered. But our volunteers come from all over the city. And again, we are a free service. So we rely on grants and donations to keep us going. And we've been at it, like I said, for 36 years, and I've been there for 19.
Well, that's great. That's how do people handle, like, if they want to volunteer people around? Is there any special insurance, or
we're fully insured now? When the person does drive, their insurance is primary, ours is secondary. But okay. We have sexual abuse policy. We have all kinds of driving insurance and so forth. We're fully insured. But yeah, and we'll drive to any appointment in the city. They just have to live in the Northeast sector.
So basically take any where they want to go around. Awesome. What about gas? You just handle your while you're out there taking people around?
It's a little bit of glitches in there. I didn't hear the whole question.
I'm sorry. That's going on. How about the purchase for the volunteer car? Can you hear that at all?
I didn't hear that one. I didn't hear that one at all.
Okay. Let me see. That's hard to type into on my question.
Yeah, I don't know where to get that at either. I can't get back to the full screen for some reason. But yeah, we take them anywhere in the city to the doctor. We will not take them to outpatient procedures or anything with a sedative, because then that will mean that we'll have to drop them off at home while they're still groggy, and that's a liability. So, but they're dental, eye, labs, anything. We'll take them to all their doctor appointments.
Okay. What about purchasing gas? Is that all laid on the volunteer?
The volunteer does, but they turn in their mileage sheet at the end of every month and we will reimburse them. So I pay 58 cents a mile.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, that was my big questions. Great. Let's see. I guess those were my big questions: insurance and gas, and just and everything. So, I really don't have any other questions. Raul, is there any other questions out there from folks?
No, sir. I think Councilman Perry's having some technical issues. So, Ms. Pat, thank you for that presentation. I think we have Mr. Richard Aste with the McNay. Sir, if you're ready to go, I have your presentation.
Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, everyone on the call. I hope you're all being safe and warm. Warm is a key word after last week. And well, zooming in from home. Can everyone hear me okay? Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Raul, can I have the first slide, please?
Yes, hold on 1 second here. Trying to... Councilman, you're as a presenter right now. You have to log out of that as a presenter so I can share my screen. Councilman Perry, did you hear me, sir?
Okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah, you're listed as the presenter, so I can't share my screen and show Richard's presentation.
I'm gonna log out. And,
Okay.
I'll just call in.
Okay, yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
All right, give me 1 second.
Sure.
And...
I think we're all learning how to innovate as of 2020. So this is day in the life, being nimble.
Yes, it's all on the job training.
We're right there with you at the museum. So if everyone can see the screen, it's my privilege to always represent very proudly what's been referred to as a jewel of District 10. And I show the McNay Art Museum how we began on the left in 1929 as a home. And on the right, our latest addition to the campus building-wise, our 2008 Jane and Arthur Stearns Center for Exhibitions. But next slide, please, Raul. Last week, we looked a lot like a film backdrop for the 1965 epic film Dr. Zhivago, starring Julie Christie. I'm dating myself and Omar Sharif, but it was a radically different McNay, and thanks to a really mighty team of very gifted and very dedicated staff members, we were able to survive last week and thrive, and we're back up and open, and we're safe and sound. We've been safe and sound throughout. The last time I've been told, I'm not relatively new, 4.5 years in, the last time our community experienced something like last week was over 100 years ago, this kind of relentless series of winter storms. And if I could have the next slide, please. That would predate our founder's arrival in South Texas, Mrs. Marion Kugler McNay. She moved here in 1926 permanently, fell in love, like so many of us not from here, with San Antonio and made it her home. Thank God she did, because she identified where we are now, a goat farm northeast of town, 15 minutes outside of then downtown San Antonio, for the future first modern art museum in all of Texas. And since then, we have become a global destination for the best of modern and contemporary art. Here's Architectural Digest calling us out as 3 travel-worthy art museums in the world created by women. Very proud of that. Next slide, please, Raul. And we continue to lean into Mrs. McNay's legacy. Just last month, voted the top art museum in Texas among the 7 best. And the next slide, please. And this is why we continue to receive national, statewide, national, and even global recognition because of our mission. Our mission is to engage absolutely everyone. San Antonio is an incredibly diverse community. Here's what our mission looks like when it's coming to life on our 25 acres. This is an example of one of our second Thursdays that were happening every month, bringing up to 1,500 visitors over 4 hours. Those of you in District 10, sorry if the spillover affected your neighborhoods. It was just a sign of our success and our engagement. The next slide, please. And even beyond our second Thursdays, we also engaged our diverse community in free family days or tea nights and college nights. So we were with you at the youngest of age. And I started an art museum experience when I was only 10. It changed my life forever. It was a positive experience, thankfully, with my parents. And I have a very different relationship with the arts, with culture, and with museums ever since. So this is a very important part of our mission. The next slide, please. But what I've been asked to speak about is what we all know now all too well, how the world changed for us in San Antonio last March. We're approaching our 1-year anniversary of closing the McNay temporarily for 3 months, beginning March 16th, to honor local officials' stay home and work safe order. Thankfully, it was 3 months. We were able to reopen safely, but things had changed when we came back at the end of June of 2020. And I'm here to speak a little bit about the changes and how we're navigating this new normal well. When you come back to the McNay, we now require of our staff and of visitors masks. We check temperatures as you come onto our campus, in our buildings, and when you're inside, we require you stay at least 6 feet apart. We're avoiding crowding and the potential spread by capping our capacity at the museum at 50% of our square footage capacity. So we can have up to, but no more than 400 visitors at any one time inside the McNay buildings. Now, that is still a very large number, and I'm going to show you examples of how we're still living within those limits very successfully since last June. Can I have the next slide, please? But the pandemic did not slow down our commitment to our mission of reaching everyone and bringing art and education to our entire community. In fact, we just grew our engagement to the entire world beyond San Antonio. In the last year, we've connected with over 1,000 students who visited as they're learning from home. And over the last year, for 6 months, we had monthly virtual workshops in which the artists on our own staff were teaching the community the art of sculpture and collage and poetry. And for those who are challenged by the digital divide, we physically delivered over 100 creativity kits designed by McNay artists to students in need across San Antonio. And if I could have the next slide, please. Now, another example of how we've pivoted since the pandemic has been a part of our lives is with what many associate with the McNay, a wedding and special event destination. And the pandemic has not slowed this young couple on the screen on the left. Last July, he proposed, his mask says, "I asked," and she accepted at the McNay. I said yes, in front of our small Japanese garden. If that couple were to continue and have the McNay be their destination for their wedding, this is an example of what weddings and rentals look like now at the museum, capping our capacity in our large Leaper auditorium to 50% of pre-COVID capacities. In other words, you can have an event at the museum, but with no more than 120 of your guests in order to ensure that everyone is safe throughout. And the next slide, please. These are just some examples of our new protocols for such rentals. You must still have a face covering on at all times, except as a guest when you're eating or drinking or capturing that lifelong memorable photograph. And we've added on our part extra museum event staff to make sure that we're adhering to cleanliness and all McNay staffing or safety protocols. We will take temperature checks of all guests of a special event, as we do of all of our visitors and staff during public hours. And as I mentioned, we have reduced our capacity for events by 50%. Next slide, please. But when it comes to a McNay event, one of our own, not a rental, but a McNay sponsored event, we are still virtual, as we were for children's education and art workshops and classes. So our annual event is approaching this year, our largest fundraiser of the year, the McNay Gala. And typically it's an immersive experience called Dining with the Masters. You're surrounded by works of art in the collection. This time, for the first time, it will be a virtual experience. You'll have an opportunity to zoom in from home. And tickets are still available if you'd like to experience McNay innovation at its best and join me and our gala chair, Chris Cheever from Broadway Bank. We'd love to have you please visit our website and have an opportunity to engage with the team and with artists, to hear directly from artists in San Antonio, across Texas, and across the country on what is coming next from their studios. Next slide, please. And why we've been doing so well throughout the pandemic is because of this great noble mission that we have in place. What we do, as I mentioned, is engage everyone, a diverse community, in the discovery and enjoyment of the visual arts. I can take zero credit for this. It was already in place in 2014. I have to honor my esteemed predecessor, Bill Kiego, and the board at the time, led by my late mentor, the late Tom Frost, for putting these 17 words together and really drawing me here from New York City, because I believe so much in every one of these words. Next slide, please. But what we have done in the pandemic is revisit our strategic plan that includes our vision statement. Knowing that the world was changing and wanting to be, as the McNay always is, ahead of the trends that we see coming to us, we rewrote our vision statement so that the new impact that we seek in San Antonio is for the McNay to be San Antonio's place of belonging, where the museum's expanding community is reflected in transformational art experiences. And we know the best way to reflect our community is to represent them. Next slide, please. And for that, I have to give a shout out to our founder, the late Marion Kubler McNay. She set us up for success. On the left is her first art purchase as a collector and a new San Antonian, Diego Rivera's masterpiece of a 5-year-old girl in Mexico City, painted in 1927. That's the same year she acquired it. That was cutting edge art at the time. Diego Rivera had a show here in San Antonio. Mrs. McNay bought it directly from that show. And on the right is a new addition to the collection by Alice Neal of a young Puerto Rican girl living in Spanish Harlem in Upper Manhattan, holding a doll that does not reflect her, because dolls were not available to young Puerto Rican girls at the time. And that's our mission right there, is to correct this disconnect and make sure that the next generation of Delfinas and Julies come to a place like the McNay and see themselves represented on our walls and in our galleries. Next slide, please. And in order to bring this mission home, we engage our community through our award-winning education programs, in particular our Spotlight program, which allows children, K through 12 students across San Antonio's public and private schools, to put their digital devices down, easy to say, I know, and really stop, slow down, and look hard and look long at a masterpiece, at a work of art. And through this program, students not only interpret the work and form a connection, but then they create their own interpretation of it. In any medium, there are no rules to this program. And every year we pick a single work to do a deep dive in meaningful connections. Next slide, please. And when we say we want to represent San Antonio, especially as we're coming out of this pandemic, we realize that our community is becoming more and more diverse every day. And we take into account our growing African-American community. This is a representation of 3 new additions to the collection, from left to right, works by an artist from Mississippi, from Georgia, and from Louisiana that are now permanently at home at the McNay. Next slide, please. And the newest addition to the permanent collection is a portrait of a Mexican day laborer in Los Angeles named Francisco, who was identified by the artist John Sonsini as someone who was a vital part of his community, but very rarely represented when he visited museums and galleries in Los Angeles. And John's mission is just as much the McNay's, to represent everyone and represent them in a very dignified way. So when you come back to the McNay, you'll find Francisco alongside works by Picasso and Gauguin and Monet at the museum. Next slide, please. Now, in my remaining minutes, I want to share our commitment to expanding and reaching everyone, not only in our permanent collection, but also in our temporary exhibitions. And if you come back to the McNay from next week through September, you'll experience our major exhibition this spring and summer, honoring 5 women, 5 remarkable women who are changing the face of contemporary art today. The show is called Limitless. You may recognize one of the works on the lower right. If you're a fan of the Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama, we will have one of her mirror infinity rooms at the McNay, where you enter for 60 seconds and really feel transformed, in this case surrounded by an endless pumpkin patch that she created 5 years ago. Next slide, please. But of the 5 women, we're very proud to honor one Texan, the one Texan in the group, Letitia Huckabee, who's based in Fort Worth. And we have handed over the McNay lobby to her as the new face of the museum for the next year. This is an exhibition that really begins with her photography of members of her community and representing the African-American experience. And the young girl in the middle of the 5 works is actually her own daughter in Fort Worth. Next slide, please. And we take this commitment not only to our indoor collection and experience, but also on our grounds across our entire campus. And the fact that we sit on 25 acres has really, according to so many experts and futurists, set us up for success in the post-COVID world. Because according to experts and global thinkers, outside is the new inside. And those museums that have a strong connectivity with nature are the ones that will do very well coming out of the pandemic. So here's an example of a new addition to our outdoor museum experience by the African-American artist Willie Cole, based in New Jersey. It's a tribute to his mother and grandmother. If you look closely, you'll see it's an amalgam of women's shoes, oversized heels and pumps cast in bronze, honoring his mother and grandmother who raised him in New Jersey. Next slide, please. Outdoors, we've added, in the spirit of representing and really reflecting everyone, our first outdoor work by an artist from Mexico, Alejandro Martin, a very timely subject, hashtag. The more digital each year gets, the more I understand the concept of hashtags. Next slide, please. And a nod to our past from the 1960s, a pop art masterpiece of a monumental tulip rising majestically 14 feet from the ground by the late pop artist Tom Wesselman. Next slide, please. But if you've been to the museum recently, you may have noticed a guest of honor who's been with us for a few months now, the largest white-tailed deer in all of Texas. You can't quite get a sense of the scale here of this fiberglass and reinforced steel sculpture. It measures 12 feet in height and 16 feet in length. But let me show you another slide that gives you a sense. Next slide, please. Here are visitors who just cannot help but engage with our newest addition to the outdoor museum experience. And the next slide, please, which is so selfie driven, it's so Instagrammable, but it really shows our commitment to breaking down the barriers to an art experience, and that art is fun, it's accessible, it's relevant, and it's for everyone. Next slide, please. And as I wrap up, I have to acknowledge all the construction that's going on in District 10 that we at the McNay are responsible for. Please pardon our mess. Beauty is around the corner. What you're witnessing as you drive by us on Austin Highway or North New Braunfels is what we've been referring to as phase 1 of a landscape master plan. It goes back to 17 years ago, when my late mentor, Tom Frost, had a vision along with my predecessor, Bill Kiego. Next slide, please. Mr. Frost realized that the McNay's biggest challenge was how it was read from the outside. That as much as we were leaning into a noble mission of engaging everyone, a diverse community, and representing everyone in San Antonio on our walls and in our galleries, from the outside, we still look like a private home, like a club. Some even told me that they thought we were a cemetery, and that is not in our mission statement. So we leaned into that vision from 17 years ago of exposing the museum to everyone. Next slide, please. So what you're experiencing now as you drive by is the addition for the first time of a triangle piece of property on the lower left-hand corner of your slide. If you remember an Exxon gas station there, it was available for purchase after it closed as a gas station to the McNay, and Mr. Frost and Bill Kiego and the board believed that that was the right move for the museum, not only to add 2 more acres and grow, but also break down those hedges, those walls, and make us an accessible community-wide art destination. Next slide, please. So we're becoming, as you drive by, an outdoor museum. And this is what we're realizing every day. It's a project that's wrapping up in just a few months. But let me give you a sneak peek in my final minutes. Next slide, please. As you drive by us on North New Braunfels, you'll see our new entrance. The hedges are gone. They've been replaced with an invisible fence. The big stone walls that read to some as a cemetery have been replaced by low stone walls that allow you direct access into what we're doing for everyone. Next slide, please. And it's just as impactful in a deep freeze as it is every day of our beautiful, beautiful Texas weather. Next slide, please. As you enter the campus from the traditional entrance that goes back to 1929, Mrs. McNay's entrance off North New Braunfels, you'll realize how much more open and safe and friendly and accessible the museum now has become. Next slide. And in addition to the North New Braunfels entrance, we've also improved, expanded, and opened up the Austin Highway entrance, recently renamed the Russell Hill Rogers Sculpture Gateway. In my last 2 minutes, next slide, please, I want to share with you what's happening once you enter the campus. That former Exxon gas station is now the Mays Family Park, thanks to a very generous transformational lead gift from Mays Family Foundation. And what they've done for us in adding these 2 acres into the campus is what you'll see on the next slide: create more space for more art and more opportunities for us to engage right there on Austin Highway in North New Braunfels, our entire community, even if you're not on campus, if you're just driving by. Next slide, please. And the final touch, and when we're going to cap the project in just a few months, is the addition of a donor wall at the base of our Kaler fountain that recognizes everyone who believed in Mrs. McNay's, Tom Frost, and Bill Kiego's vision of opening up the museum to everyone. The names of everyone who supported this project from $50,000 all the way to $2 million. Next slide, please. As well as a donor, one of our trustees, Rick Liberto, who wanted to honor his mother, who would bring him to the museum when he was a child for art classes. He's created, through a major gift, a park, a meditative moment within our 25 acres to honor the memory of Patricia Ann Edwards Liberto. And the last 2 slides, please. So when you come back to the McNay, we are open for business. You can even get a sneak peek of these final moments of the landscape transformation. Know that you will be driving from North New Braunfels onto what is now called Tom Frost Way. We thought it was an apt and appropriate tribute for one of the great visionaries of our community and a great champion of District 10 and the McNay. And the next slide, please. So please stay tuned. In April, we will celebrate together safely outdoors at a press event. We are still finalizing the date, but we will do this in great McNay style, putting safety first, but honoring everyone who got us here, including you. Last slide. Truly the last slide. Thank you for your passion, your belief, and your love of what I truly believe is the jewel of District 10. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Rich. We appreciate it. I think Councilman is able to be back on the line now. We're having a lot of technical difficulties tonight. We apologize for that. But Councilman, I don't know if you can hear me or not, or if you could speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, great. Rich, I'm so disappointed. I'm sitting here without the video. I'm just listening, but I can't wait to get back over there to see the progress that y'all have done. And really, I encourage everybody across the district to go over there to the McNay. It is a beautiful facility. You know, everybody talks about the Whitty, but we got, like you said, we got the jewel of District 10 right there at the McNay, and it's a beautiful facility, and y'all do some excellent exhibits there. So I can't wait to get back over there and see this next one that you have coming up. But Raul or Paul, do we have any questions for Rich?
No questions that I see now, sir. No. I do have
great.
DeBerry online, not on video. And I, again, pardon for the technical difficulties, but she is on the phone.
Okay, great. Well, Rich, thank you very much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. And once we get out of all of this pandemic stuff, we get back in the tool yard, I want to have you come back and show us what the final touches are and what you currently have over there. So thank you very much again for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
And Rich, if you could share that, if it's okay, we'd be happy to email this PowerPoint out to everybody.
Happy to do that. Thank you both. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Yes.
Good to see you.
Well, we have, as I understand, Commissioner DeBerry, like me, no video, but go ahead and, ma'am, if you'd like to come on and tell us a little bit about what's going on right now, and take it from there.
Thank you, Councilman Perry. Yes, you know, it is the time in the COVID age in which we live. Technology probably is not what it should be necessarily, but I'm happy to be able to join you all. I know it's been a very rough week for a lot of people, including myself. Just a little bit from a personal standpoint, I did not have power and water for 3 days. I just got back from visiting my 90-year-old mother who's in rehab because she was at an assisted living facility when the power went out and got up to go to the bathroom and tripped and fell and broke her humerus and had to drag herself into the hallway to be able to be seen by someone so she could then be taken to an emergency room. So it's been quite a week. So I appreciate the fact that the residents of and constituents of District 10 have hung in there through a very difficult time. But I think, as Councilman Perry will tell you, I think both of us are all about accountability at this point, and there's a lot of blame to go around, whether it was a lack of communication and preparedness on the part of CPS, whether it's what we're doing with ERCOT, and certainly when energy became a commodity in 1999 and was bought and sold like the stock market, things changed a little bit, and so there was less incentive to keep reserves on hand. But, we have a presentation to Commissioner's Court tomorrow by Paula Gold-Williams and by Robert Puente and Steve Klaus over at SAWS, just, to ask the questions. And look, having worked in the private sector, I've had lots of different conversations with people, and we all know, HEB is always prepared, but I do have a good friend who's a VP with logistics over at HEB, and they were preparing for this event for several days, if not a couple of weeks. And so, my primary questions are, why did we not know more? Why did we not prepare better? Why was there not better communications associated with once we hit what we hit, which was no power and many times no water? There should have been constant communications. And as somebody who works, in the crisis communications sector, I have lots of questions about what their crisis communications plan was, or if they had one, because clearly it doesn't appear that they did. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be also making sure that the ratepayers who did not have power are not paying for the mistakes of not only CPS but ERCOT. So we're going to demand that for sure. I think it's about how we move forward. I had a conversation with Councilman Perry today about the fact that this is not an issue that just goes up to the city limits. This is an issue that goes up to the county line and to the unincorporated areas of the county. Many of you may have neighbors that live in Timberwood Park or Fair Oaks. And those people were probably impacted the most severely because many of them did not get water until probably yesterday. So sometimes, being a county commissioner is a very lonely place to be because, we have a tendency to be forgotten, and the unincorporated areas have a tendency to be forgotten. But I lobbied hard to get a water distribution point at Bullis County Park, so that the folks near Timberwood would be able to have bottled water, which was very successful. I've been lobbying very hard for yet another site north of 1604, as well as the suburban cities that are very close by. They don't have the bonding capacity that a major city or a county does, and so they rely upon the county to leverage funds to be able to build infrastructure. But we need to make sure, as we look at the lessons learned throughout this. My feeling is, not only do ratepayers need to bear the brunt of the mistakes that were made, because very clearly there were big mistakes that were made, but we need better representation on that CPS board. The county has zero representation on that board. As you all know, there are quadrants that are selected. People are not voted into those positions. They are appointed. And many times it's very difficult to find people to fill those slots. So I think we've got to take a very close look at the board construct of CPS. And, I've requested, and I know they're trying to get through what they need to get through right now, but I do think that we need kind of a 10-year audit of CPS and really where they decided to spend their money regarding, baseload power, renewables. What does that look like? Because I remember touring the South Texas nuclear plant probably 13 years ago. And there was an opportunity to invest more heavily in nuclear, and we decided that we didn't want to do that. But I'm all about a balanced portfolio, but renewables will not solve the day. We had wind turbines that went out. We had solar panels that were covered in snow. And so we were left to rely upon nuclear energy, natural gas, and coal plants. And there's a lot of conversations about we need to shut down coal. Let me be very clear here. We have got to have baseload power, and that does include coal, and that does include nuclear. Nuclear does not have a carbon footprint. I know that may make people a little bit nervous or whatever, but I just think we have to invest a lot more intelligently in what the portfolio looks like. So I'm very disappointed, obviously, and some fellow Republican colleagues that decided that they were going to skip town. That is not the kind of Republican I think Councilman Perry nor I are. I'll be real honest with you. I could not get off the phone for 3 days. I have never learned so much about generators as I have over the past week, as I was sourcing generators, not just for pump stations through Holtcap, but also over the San Antonio Zoo, as they were moving animals indoors because they didn't have constant temperature in the water. They had flamingos inside of a restaurant. So anyway, it's been a heck of a week personally and professionally, but I'm just going to let you know, Councilman Perry and myself were digging in. I was trying to move the needle when it came to potable and non-potable water options through the emergency service districts in Fair Oaks. So those folks had some kind of water. And then, like I said, the bottled water distribution out near Timberwood Park. So I guess, the bottom line for me, and Councilman Perry can weigh in here too, we talk a lot about what the equity lens looks like. If we're going to talk about that, we need to make sure the equity lens is fair to all people. Because there was a ton of water that went down to the convention center for people who were there at that warming center, which is great, but I had nobody in my precinct that could probably make it down to the convention center. So I just think we were caught flat-footed, and we need to do better. And so, like I said, demanding accountability and ensuring answers and making sure rates still go up will be the priority. So that's a little bit just about what the last week has been like. But, I think just, as we move through this process, we're going to take up in court tomorrow an emergency fund for repairs, pipe repairs, probably to the tune of about $5 million. I know the city announced something today. The county is going to do something tomorrow. So please make sure, if you live, really, like I said, in the unincorporated areas and suburban cities or whatever, there's an opportunity through the county to be able to take advantage of money to be able to be reimbursed for plumbing repairs up to the tune of $1,000. So we're doing everything we can to try to help out, but we need to make sure that we have better representation on the CPS board, because they don't answer to me because I don't serve on that board. So I think we just need to take a very hard look at doing things differently. Quickly, Councilman, before you weigh into that equation, we had board appointments at the county. I was nominated to the Bear Appraisal District. We're watching very closely the appraisal bills that are through there, because we need to be helping out people when it comes to, holding the line when it comes to appraisals. And there are a number of different bills that are out there, some 41 probably. So we're tracking that very closely. I think we'll see something come about in the legislature regarding appraisal reform. I'll let you know what I think is the best opportunity for that. Good news is I was appointed to the Bear Appraisal District, so I'll be asking some tough questions as a board member of the Bear Appraisal District to try to toe the line there too. I'm also have been appointed the military liaison on the court, so I'll be working closely with Councilman Perry regarding veterans' needs and what we can do. I mean, certainly too, as many of you may have read today, the decision regarding Space Command is being looked at very closely. They may reopen that. I mean, we'll see what that holds. But anyway, all of those things and the appointment to the MPO, you guys are very interested in mobility and transportation. I've had conversations already with the district engineer, and we'll be getting out to you shortly. Really, what are the timelines regarding a lot of the projects that are happening within the precincts, and many of those impact District 10. So, understand we've got some long-term pain coming with road construction projects that are ahead, but long-term gain associated with that. And then lastly, I will tell you, I got a lot to talk about today. I wish I could be with you in person so that I could see you and answer questions, but we are opening a field office in a precinct, something we have never had before, which is over where Constable Mark Vojvodich is located and Justice of the Peace Wentworth is headquartered. And so there's a lot of space to be utilized in that building. We are talking to the county now about redesigning a room so that perhaps homeowners associations, and you all pay attention closely to this, if you are meeting in people's homes and you're looking for a space, hopefully within about 2 to 3 months, we will have a space for homeowners associations to convene at Inner Park and 281 with video capabilities, PowerPoint presentation capabilities that I think is only right because the taxpayers of Bexar County paid for that facility, and so they should be able to utilize that facility. And then hopefully, as we move forward, we'll also have the opportunity for the tax assessor collector to have a drive-through opportunity, so you don't have to come all the way downtown. You can use that facility too to pay taxes. The county clerk has said that she will go out there every month and camp in the parking lot, so that if you have to renew passports or, if there are veterans paperwork that needs to be filled out and completed, we need to be accessible. And so that's what opening up a precinct office is going to mean, is accessibility and convenience to you all. So with that, I don't want to take up all your time because I know through technical difficulties, we weren't able to see each other, but I know that's a lot. So anyway, Councilman, thank you for the opportunity, and feel free to weigh in because I think the most important thing is how we move through this crisis regarding Snowmageddon and how we hold CPS accountable.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And I am really, really excited about y'all opening a field office there along 281 and 1604 there. That is exciting, and we will certainly put it to use. I listen, everybody. Commissioner DeBerry and myself are very, very tied at the hip on a lot of these issues here, and I'm really looking forward to working with her more closely on all of these issues, all of the above. And things need to be done, and things need to be done a little bit differently than they have in the past. So I'm really excited about that and look forward to spending more time and working with the commissioner to make things better here for Precinct 3 and District 10. So I thank you very much, ma'am. I really, really appreciate it. Didn't we have one more presentation from?
Yes, we do, Councilman.
Okay.
And before we let Commissioner go, I'd like to wish her a happy birthday. Her birthday was this past weekend. And
oh, wow.
I hope you get to celebrate this week at some point. And we also have former Councilman Gallagher on the line, joined us. He's waving hello to everybody.
Well, thank you very much. I stopped counting birthdays some time ago, but I appreciate the sentiment and the warm wishes. Although I'll be honest with you, I was so busy, I kind of almost forgot it was my birthday on Sunday until my
Well, you could celebrate on Friday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have Constable Vojvodich with us, Councilman.
Yeah. Happy birthday to you, ma'am. And yeah, when you get to be our age, you just kind of quit counting them anyway. So anyway, thank you so much for attending tonight. You're welcome to stay the rest of the presentation here. But yeah, let's go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Let's go ahead and move on. We do have Constable Vojvodich on, and Mark, how's things going this evening? Take it away. This is your time.
I'm doing good. Everybody can hear me? Well, good. Just to let you know a little bit of background about constables. If you're not familiar with us, we have 4 constables within Bexar County. Precinct 3 serves the area around, which encompasses District 10, 9, and part of 8. We also incorporate the unincorporated parts of Bexar County, as well as the city of San Antonio, Chavano Park, Gray Forest, parts of Helotes, parts of Fair Oaks Ranch, Hollywood Park, Hill Country Village, Alamo Heights, Terrell Hills, Leon Valley, all areas that we serve in. Our largest capacity, of course, is in the civil process. If you have people that are involved in tenant-landlord disputes or in small claims, that's one of our major functions. And of course, we're concerned with growth, and we're looking at how to pay for that growth. And we're concerned with how to conserve taxpayers' money while we perform these services. We are looking at a large growth situation. Just for example, within precinct 3, we probably have a backlog of about 5,000 pending evictions. Of course, those are on hold from the state and also federally. Some folks have been, some of the landlords have been without a check for 10 months. And we have people who have been victims of COVID and have been unable to pay rent for an equal amount of time. The state has several programs to help do some diversions of those evictions and to help both tenants and landlords in dealing with those backlogs or back rent situations so they're not going to be evicted. So there are processes in play to do that. Of course, from the district areas or the homeowners associations, you're probably concerned quite a bit about property taxes. Property taxes is always a big thing in government. For example, we look at what we cost in providing services and what we can save taxpayers and money to be returned to taxpayers or be used for many other purposes. We have huge infrastructure requirements in Bexar County. We're growing. We're estimating that approximately 900,000 new residents will come into San Antonio over the next 10 years. That's a huge amount of growth. And Precinct 3, District 10, 9, and 8, of course, will all be involved in that. We have limits that did not occur in property taxes this year. If you remember, in the past legislative session, we had the Senate Bill 2, which was to cap property taxes at a 3.5% increase rate. Everybody remember that from the last legislative session? That was a little bit derailed by the COVID declaration. With COVID considered to be a natural disaster, that limit did not go into effect this year. This year, the taxing authorities were allowed to go up to 8%, which quite a few of them in Texas have done, which is a concern to people who are on fixed incomes. And of course, we're concerned also as well because we're looking at a growth situation and a growth in taxes as well. Whether you're in the city of San Antonio or unincorporated Bexar County, you will see if taxes were capped at 3.5% for the next 10 years, you would still see a 41% total overall increase in property taxes. That's due to the valuations that Commissioner DeBerry mentioned, as well as the tax increase. And if it stays at 8% or stays at that rate, you're looking at 115% increase in property taxes in that time period, which is critical because those costs are duplicated to some degree. And so we're looking for ways to work with both the city and the county, as well as getting the direction from our HOAs and the taxpayers, because after all, you are our bosses. I don't think anybody on the panel here would argue that at all, but you're going to see a difference probably in Commissioner DeBerry, and I know you will in Commissioner Barrett. So I know he's always acted on that, having worked with him in the past. We do have a considerable number of services that we provide. I did send out my email address and my phone number. So if you have direct questions on how we can impact costs, how we can work to save taxpayer dollars in property tax issues or in efficiencies within county government, please give me a call or email me, and I'll be happy to deal with that. I always like being at the tool the facility because we can talk in person and get quite a bit of feedback as to what you want us to do. And in Precinct 3 and the Constable's office, we look forward to Commissioner DeBerry being out here in the field office, which will make it a lot more accessible for everybody to come in and make their priorities known directly to her, as well as to me and to Judge Wentworth, who's always open to suggestions. Any questions that I can answer right now? Because I know we're kind of at our end of our scheduled time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time and your explanations. I know a lot of people really don't know what constables do. So it's great that you get your information out there so that people can give you a call and see what y'all can do to help out in our neighborhoods here. And I know y'all do already, and we really appreciate that. And I just want to make sure that people know that y'all are available and y'all can do more. You can do more for our district here, and that's what I'm really interested in. But yeah, thank you very much. Raul, are there any questions or anything out there?
No, sir. I don't see any in the chat box.
Okay. Well, Mark, thank you very much again. Appreciate it, and we'll see you around. And thank you for what y'all are doing for the community, what you've done in the past, and look forward to working with you more in the future here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, well, folks, let me just go through. We're kind of at the end of the evening here. Had some great presentations. We do have some giveaways. Paul or Raul, can y'all? We took a look at who registered for the meeting tonight, and who are our winners? What are they winning? Paul or Raul?
Raul's pulling it up right now, Councilman.
Yeah, I don't have access to any of that.
I know, he's pulling it up. So we had some generous donations from businesses in District 10, including Brooks Barbecue and More. They're on Nacogdoches near O'Connor. Good Goods off of Austin Highway, and Buns is actually downtown, but they love Councilman Perry and the office. We actually got to go try the hamburgers downtown. Fantastic. So the winners, Landry had sent them. Sandra Sutton, Ron Van Kirk, and Richard Ingraham.
Great.
So,
And if y'all can email the office, we'll get those tickets to you, and y'all go and enjoy those. And I think Good Goods is actually a nice candle set or something like that.
Yes,
so
that's right.
But yeah, congratulations to those that won. Well, listen, everybody, I really want to apologize about the technical difficulties. I don't know what happened tonight, but I just wasn't able to stay on. You just have to listen to my voice here. But I just want to talk just a couple minutes here, if you'll bear with me, about this last week. Look, we can't control the weather, but we can dang sure control our communications and the preparedness for this. What really burns me is that we knew this was coming a week in advance, and yet there wasn't any information, there wasn't any preparedness, there wasn't anything going out to the city or the county saying, hey, this is what you ought to be doing to prepare for this. And the lack of communication was horrible. And let me tell you, I'm fully supporting a full investigation on this as to what went on. You know, what can we learn from this? What can we prepare for better the next time a weather event? Now, it doesn't have to be snow and ice. It could be a flood. It could be a tornado. It just goes on and on and on the problems that we had. And I'm saying it's not CPS. It's not just SAWS, but guess who? Just guess who owns both of those utilities? It's the city. It should have been the city council and the mayor doing their darndest ahead of time to work with both of those organizations to get ready for this thing. So the buck stops with the city because we own those utilities. So anyway, just wanted to kind of wrap up today's meeting about that. This is not over with. We still have boil water notice in several parts of District 10. Hopefully that's going to be over with here in the next day or two. But the rest of all this stuff, we're going to look at this stuff very, very closely. So y'all just be listening and watching and to see what's going to be happening with all that. We've got a ways to go with that. But I think we're mostly cured across the district and across the city. We just need to do some investigating and you know, it was mentioned a while ago by Commissioner DeBerry about the city stepping up. We're expanding a program to help with plumbing requirements on fixing homes. FEMA is getting engaged to help with that kind of thing, and there's a private organization, I think it's Help SA, that's being formed by Gordon Hartman and some other philanthropists here in town, where they're collecting money from private donors to raise money for helping individuals out there also that need the help to recover their homes, possessions, that kind of thing that were lost. And, you know, it was terrible what happened up there at TPC, just terrible. So stay tuned. You'll be hearing more about that program as well. But it just shows how this city comes together when people need help and we help each other. So with that, I'll turn it out. Let's see. I'm getting there's a shout out to the Spurs. They donated $250,000 to that fund. Like I said, there's going to be a bunch of different organizations that's going to get into that fund and help out. You know, Harvey Najum did. I know Gordon Hartman did. A lot more is coming in. So just in one day's time, it went from an initial 500,000 up to over $1.7 million. So that's just showing the outpouring of help that these organizations and people are wanting to give people out there. So with that, unless there's any questions for me, out there, Paul or Raul?
No, sir. There aren't any questions in the chat at this time. Councilman Gallagher's waving his hand. I don't know if he wants to say something. Yeah, he does. Go ahead, sir. Unmute yourself. Oh, you just muted yourself. Hold on. You're still muted, Councilman. He's just waving goodbye. I don't think it'll work. There is somebody that's asking a question. Fraulein Merrick, I could see that you're asking a question. There are other attendees tonight. Yes, sir. If you have a question, go ahead and type it in. I could ask it for Councilman right now. Fraulein, do you have a question? If you have a question, go ahead and type it in. Okay, he didn't have any questions. Councilman Gallagher, yours was still muted. And Fraulein, Raul sent his email address there. He's wondering about the system. Yeah, tonight, I don't know what happened with it. WebEx has been acting a little crazy tonight. Normally, it's a lot more reliable. We'll get to the bottom of that too on what's going on, but it definitely hiccuped a lot tonight. But we'll fix that for next time.
Paul, when is our next meeting?
Our next District 10 meeting is going to be Monday, March 15th at 6 p.m. On that night, we're going to have a very important presentation from the City of San Antonio. They're doing a police survey and how community policing should look. So that'll be a big one. If everybody could tell your neighbors and everyone join us that night. And then Commissioner Tommy Calvert's going to jump on that one as well. We may have another nonprofit from District 10 on that. I just haven't finished that agenda yet. But those two will be very important presentations to hear.
Great. Well, with all that, unless there's any other questions, went a little bit over tonight, but I think it was all great presentations to hear from these organizations and individuals that are all out there supporting you. So with that, I'm going to call an end to the meeting tonight and wish everybody a great rest of your week and stay safe out there. And, you know, let's all pay attention to what's going to be happening over here over the next several weeks on what happened last week. Y'all take care. Have a great evening. We'll talk to y'all later. Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night.